Ah, My Little Pony, friendship is magic. For 9 seasons, you've entertained, you've inspired, you've brought so many fans together. Every time I look back on these final 26 episodes, I know I'll feel a little sad that this wonderful show came to an end. And yet, I'll always be happy for everything it gave me. I honestly wouldn't be where I am without these characters and stories. And MLP Season 9 brought so many of these character story arcs to a close in a very meaningful way. To be honest, I'm still debating on whether Season 9 might actually be more memorable for me than any other season in the show. Many more hits than misses. But inevitably, I must ask the question, which episodes really stood out from all the others? Which had the funniest moments, the most intriguing life lessons, the scenes which overwhelmingly tugged at your heartstrings? I am Dr. Wolf, and this is my top 10 best episodes of MLP Season 9.
Friendship grows.
Number 10.
Now every time we have tea, we can remember this magical day.
I really had a hard time deciding which episodes not to include in this top 10, because there were so many entries I truly enjoyed. She's All Yak, Student Council, She Talks to Angel, The Last Crusade, Growing Up is Hard to Do. There are strong arguments that any one of these belong among the best episodes in MLP Season 9. But I decided on Between Dark and Dawn, not so much because of the lesson. I mean, we've seen this kind of sibling conflict several times before in the series. But rather, this is the deepest look into Celestia and Luna's relationship in the entirety of the show. It's actually kind of like a midlife crisis for the two of them. Getting so tired of the prim and proper nature expected of being a princess, and instead getting to do all the things they've wanted to try for who knows how many centuries. Plus, I find it rather interesting that Celestia, who often has to deal with the mundane and the everyday matters of the court, really wants to try some of the more extreme and chaotic activities. Whilst Luna, who often has to deal with the wild imaginations and extreme emotions of Pony's dreams, really wants to try some of the more mundane, everyday matters that normal ponies take for granted. It's an interesting look into their personalities. But honestly, I remember this episode the most for its many hilariously over-the-top expressions. There's quite a few to choose from. Plus, a few other fantastic lines.
All the times we've actually needed their help, and they show up for this? The magic of friendship grows.
Number 9.
Thank you! You're welcome, and I can't think of any pony who'd be better for the job.
Oh boy, this episode hit me hard with its message. It's actually one of the most mature lessons in the entirety of the show. Far more relevant for adults in the working world rather than for kids. And while, at least for me, the solution with Sunburst seemed rather obvious early on, who didn't enjoy seeing all these other fan-favorite cameos show up as candidates? Also, can we take a moment to appreciate that Starlight didn't try to do anything towards tripping up the other candidates so Trixie could seem like a viable choice? Far too many stories with this setup fall into that trap. Instead, the audience can easily relate to how frustrating Trixie is, while also understanding why Starlight really needs to have a friend in this position. It makes for a nice balance. Plus, I'm sure quite a few fans enjoyed this little bit at the end.
Potted plants scream desperation. Phyllis, no! The magic of friendship grows.
Number 8.
Okay, you got this. ready?
We all loved to see Weird Al Yankovic become a part of the MLP canon back in Season 4, and I didn't know of a single fan who didn't want to see him return. But thankfully, The Last Laugh is doing much more than fan service by giving Cheese Sandwich a second appearance. Tying his struggles with the fact that Pinkie Pie herself doesn't really know what she should be working towards in the future is a nice touch. On top of that, while many of us certainly thought a character like Sans would end up being the rather cliché villain that so many stories like this tend to have, it was kind of refreshing how he felt just as passionate about helping Cheese succeed as Pinkie did. And lest we forget, with how these two characters ended up at the end of the series, an episode like The Last Laugh also provided some subtle clues building up the only confirmed character to be shipped with one of the main six. That's right, everyone. Weird Al stole your waifu.
The magic of friendship grows.
Number 7.
You stand there and tell me if I hit the right apologetic notes. What are you apologizing for? Darling, I don't see why that matters.
Who would have thought that Spike and Gabby would actually make a really good fit together? Looking back at their history, it really shouldn't have been surprising, and honestly, these two are rather adorable. Which in turn helps Rarity to realize everything she had been taking for granted with her little Spiky Wikey over the years. I sincerely wanted to see this side of Rarity ever since Season 1. And much like with Forever Philly, Rarity seems to have difficulty with change in those she cares about, wanting to maintain the status quo per se. And again, this kind of message is actually more relevant towards adults than it is for kids, while still being very easy to understand for all ages. Plus, I don't know about you, but I found Rarity's emotional extremes and over-the-top expressions beyond hilarious. Dragon Dropped is easily worth a rewatch just for those scenes alone.
Spike! Oh, I actually owe you an apology too. You apologize a lot. The magic of friendship grows.
Number 6.
Okay, but there's gotta be a guide or a rule book?
Yes, I have it right here. How to Rule Equestria by No Pony Make Pretend Smith.
I don't think there's any other season premiere in all of MLP that raises the stakes more than the beginning of the end. Now, the Royal Sisters retiring and passing the mantle of ruling Equestria onto Twilight, we all could have seen that coming from a long ways off. But bringing all the biggest villains in the series together? That certainly brings up a lot of possibilities. Destroying the tree as well as the elements of harmony? Even more intriguing possibilities. Setting up a season-long story arc for not only Twilight to fit into her role, but also the villains learning to be friends, or at least learning to work together? My sincere thanks to the MLP staff for pulling off so many great plot hooks all at once. Admittedly, looking back at this premiere now, there are a couple of clues I really should have picked up on for Discord disguising himself as Grogar. But that still doesn't diminish how fantastic a season opener the beginning of the end really is. And that wraps up part 1 of this top 10 list. Be sure to check the link in the video or in the description for part 2. And let me know which episodes you think belong among the best that MLP Season 9 has to offer. Until next time, I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.